today we will be setting up our notes notebook for math. All you're going to need is a writing utensil and a notebook. This one is a composition. You can use a spiral if that's what you have. Please make sure today that when you're writing down what we're putting in our notes together, please make sure that you pause and unpause the video at the points when you need to write. If you need to pause, feel free and hit the space bar to pause and the space bar to resume, or use the controls on your computer. Let's get started. So the first thing I'd like you to write on the inside cover is South Kitsap and I love math. All lowercase, no spaces. South Kitsap is the username and I love math is the password that we're going to be using a lot this year. These two will get us into the online features of our math program in our district. The math program that the middle schoolers use in our district is called Core Focus on Math, and this username and password will get you into all the online resources that the program has to offer. We'll go through that just a little bit more in depth as we move into the school year. Now, we're going to start to number our pages. So I wanted to let you know that we're going to start numbering with the first lined or graph side that you have here on the right-hand side. We're going to start off with number 1. As you flip the page open, you're going to number 2 and then 3 on the right. So all of the left pages should be even. All of the right pages should be odd. So if you can't see that real well, there is the 2 and the 3. Okay. Now, as I go through, I'm going to keep numbering, and I want you to number 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. 25 is the last page that we're going to write in for this unit, and you should have it be on the right-hand side because it is odd. Once you've numbered those, I'd like you to go ahead and flip to page 5. I'd like you to write the real number system right on the top. We're going to be talking about that in just a minute. Then I want you to flip to page 7, and I'd like you to write I can add integers. I'd like you to flip to page 9 and write I can add rational numbers. On page 11, I would like you to write I can subtract integers. You're going to notice that I'm writing all of these targets on my right-hand side, those odd page numbers. Number 13, I'd like you to write I can subtract rational numbers. I hope you're seeing a trend. What we're going to be doing is looking at operations of numbers this first unit. Page 15 is I can multiply integers. Page 17 is I can multiply rational numbers. Page 19 is I can divide integers. Number 21, I can divide rational numbers. And then there's 2 more that we're going to look at after we add, subtract, multiply, and divide. We are going to be getting into I can write and compute expressions with powers. I'm not sure if any of you have ever worked with exponents before, but we're going to take a look at that. And then the last one is I can find the value of expressions using the order of operations. I'm sure all of you have heard of order of operations, but if you haven't, we'll take a look at that and do all of the operations in order of operations with rational numbers. All right, so once you're done writing all of those, I want you to head back to page 5. And we're going to do a couple different things. So your teacher last year might have used what we call tabs. They kind of look like this. They stick out over the end of your paper. Last year, your teachers might have used tabs to keep track of all your learning targets, maybe notebook checks, things of that nature. So what we're going to do is we're going to put in a tab, and if you haven't used it before, that's okay. We're going to put our tab in here. So if you want to make a tab, this is not required, but if you want to make a tab to keep track of it, just grab a piece of scratch paper. What you're going to do is cut a small rectangle, and you're going to fold it in half. Now on the crease side, you're going to write rational number operations, and you're going to write that along the crease on both sides. Now, when you add it into your notebook, if you do want to do this, this is optional, but you can put the tab just right on the edge. So I'm going to show you. It kind of looks like this paper tab is going to eat page 5. It's hungry. Okay, it's going to eat page 5. And what's going to happen is you're going to slip it right over. Now, you don't want to have it be right up against it because then it's not going to be a tab anymore. But if you leave it stick out just a little bit, that's going to be the way that you're going to know where this unit starts. I could put a little piece of tape here, or if you have glue stick, that's great. And then you're going to do that on the other side so it sticks. Another great tool to use is that if you have Post-its laying around, that's another great idea to be able to do that. It's already sticky on one side and you could throw a little bit of tape on the other. Remember, this is optional, so if you don't want to do it, that's okay. Now, we're going to go ahead and talk a little bit about the real number system. I'm going to go ahead and diagram a couple of types of numbers that us as middle school students should have had some exposure to already. We're going to start off with a box right in the middle. So right in the middle of your notebook paper, I want you to write counting numbers. Now, counting numbers are the numbers that you started off with as you started counting objects around your house when you were little. Counting numbers start off with 1, 2, 3. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to place them into this box, some examples, and I'm going to put a dot, dot, dot after that to know that that pattern continues. One of your early targets in kindergarten was to use counting numbers and to count up to 100. It's amazing that that's where we started when we were in math. So counting numbers, I'm going to put that right here in the middle. Now the next thing that we're going to look at is whole numbers. Whole numbers are counting numbers, but it's included with 0 as well. So I'm going to put 0, 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to continue that pattern. Maybe take just a minute and think about what other whole numbers do you know? What other counting numbers do you know? Maybe add those in so you have a few more of your own examples. Now, the two other types of numbers that we're going to be looking at in this unit are integers and rational numbers. We're going to go ahead and put in what an integer is right here into your notebook. So I'm going to put another rectangle around it, and then I'll show you how we're going to do this. So integers are whole numbers and their opposites. So if I think about integers, I'm going to write my whole numbers, 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to think about their opposites. So the opposite of 1 is -1. The opposite of 2 is -2. The opposite of 3 is -3. Don't forget to include 0. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pull this up close just in case if you weren't able to see it really clearly. So again, right in the middle of your box should be counting numbers. This is how we started with math, counting those little Cheerios on our tray, counting blocks in our cubbies when we were little. 1, 2, 3. Whole numbers are counting numbers that include 0. Integers are all of the whole numbers and their opposites, including 0. Okay, we're going to add one more, and that's rational number. I'm going to put this up here. And as your teachers move through this unit, you're going to be adding some additional things in this rational numbers. Hey, why don't you look it up and see what a rational number is? See if you can add some examples. So again, in order to read this diagram, I wanted to let you know that an integer is an example of a rational number. Counting numbers are all of these things. So as I look at this diagram here today, we're going to be spending time doing integer operations as first unit and rational number operations. Again, try to see if you can figure out what that is. Thanks for setting our notebook up. Please make sure it's done for our next class meeting, and we'll see you in class.